Uh, I thought today I will speak about what I mean as a difference between survival versus living. Survival is a way of being where you're doing things in comparison with something else. You're comparing things with something else and doing as against. So, Darwin's theory of evolution of the survival of the fittest very much applies to what I mean by survival. Um, in in living, the movement is continuous. It follows a certain what I call as yearning. It's a certain persistent. It's not really a question, but it's something that you don't really know about, but which kind of gets your attention every time you encounter that. Every time it's a kind of a sensation. It's a yearning. It's more. I think that applies more. You're following the rhythm of a yearning in fulfilling a certain yearning. There is, it draws you. It's like an invisible string that draws you, and that kind of has a sense of it being some form of love, but it draws you and it keeps you inquiring. It can even give you some form of a restlessness, some form of it will not quite allow you to sleep until you find you meet it. Yeah, you and it. That's one part of it, and in meeting it, in fulfilling that yearning, there's a certain. It has you become. It invites you. It has you become more than who you are, what you are presently, because it makes you. It strengthens you in some way, but the strengthening is also kind of a bit like, well, I wouldn't quite. It may seem pointless to anybody else, but it has the most meaning for you. And it's not in comparison with something else, but it's in comparison with where you are and what you do not have, but which on having will give you the most sense of fulfilling and a sense of satisfaction. There is survival while you're in the inquiry of what living is. Living is a finer, is a refined, advanced version, and it brings about evolution. It's not just about, well, it probably has the Lamarckian effect, as against the Darwinian way of how evolution happens, where it is a little more along the lines of survival of the fittest. Lamarckian is more epigenetics. You're influenced by the environment, yeah, and you're picking up from the environment, and your being, your everyday movement is influenced by what is in the environment, but your movement itself is not in comparison with things. Your movement is in tandem, is in keeping in pace with something that really draws in you, that draws your attention, that draws your beingness, even to the point of your existence along that lines. Living is like one thread that is like the main thread of life. It's like the main inquiry. And everything else that happens around it, anything that happens in your environment, in your different experiences, can be blended in some way, embroidered onto this main thread, which is your inquiry in life, which has you ticking, has you keep doing many things, exploring new things, or exploring what there is. Just so this kind of an invisible, almost maybe even irrational yearning is sort of keeps enticing you in some way. And as you, and it's not about being enticed, but it's about it is enticing. And somewhere along there lies the clue to what you can become. It has you be alive. It has you come alive and brings you a reason to be alive for. Survival without without being in the presence of this yearning, of this without the presence of this yearning, is more competition. And once you won that competition, then it's like the road kind of ends there, and then you need to look around for, okay, what else to compete against, what else to be challenged by, what else to be triggered by, and then you go winning that one, and then you again come to a standstill. What next? So it's more a it has a limited bandwidth. It has a limited sense of accomplishment. Your sense of, I mean, you do have a sense of dopamine, like you accomplish something when you win something, but it may be meaningless if it doesn't add to what brings the most meaning in your existence, that gives you the most juice out of for living. Yeah. So I'll leave you with this thought for now. Do contact me if you would like to get further clarity on how to discern your own thread of inquiry, your own yearning on. There is a method by which you can arrive at your main thread of life. So that's something that I work on, and maybe we could do a Skype, or we could do an online thing, and I can help you with that. Or do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned on I'll try and clarify further. But it's a good question to begin to inquire on as you're moving through your everyday choices, to see if you're surviving or are you living, based on what I just spoke here. So maybe that will bring some clarity. But it's a good question to ask yourself as you're moving through your everydayness, if you're surviving or are you living at this moment.